Get shocked, and let's add custom energy handling to our block entity. Alright, we find ourselves back in IntelliJ once more, and in this tutorial we're going to be adding custom energy handling to Minecraft, specifically to our block entity. However, before we do that, we want to update Forge once again. I know it's pretty crazy, it's been a lot of updates, but we want to update to 43.1.3. because that actually introduces a new way of, well, using capabilities. It's not that crazy. Let's just reload it. Can take anywhere from a few seconds to up to a minute or 2 minutes, however fast your PC and your internet connection might be. And let's just wait for a moment. All right, and there we are, 1 minute 57 seconds. Absolutely amazing. And now we have the new version. Now we should actually be able to see not an error, but a deprecation over here. So you can see that the capability item handler is marked for removal. The same goes for all of the other capabilities. They are now all under the Forge capabilities dot. And then you can see item handler, fluid handler, and energy. So here we just want to choose the item handler, and the same thing we want to do in our menu class. So this is right here. We just want to say Forge capabilities dot item handler. And that should pretty much be everything. Delete the import over here. And then just do the same here, Control-Alt-O, and then the import is removed as well. And now we can proceed. So we're going to use the Forge Capabilities class in the following tutorials. However, you can still use the old ones. However, once they're removed, of course, that does not work. So just be sure that you either have the newest version for Forge, or you can also use the other ones. The rest should pretty much be the same, right? And after we've done this, now we can finally add our custom energy storage to this particular block. So let's take another look at the GUI over here, the GUI, and we can see this is where the energy will be displayed. What we're going to have is we're going to have a, well, it's going to fill up basically, right? So this is going to be a bar that's going to fill up, and we can also hover over it, and we're going to see how much energy is stored in there. First of all, we need to store everything via the block entity, and then all of the display stuff is going to happen via menu and screen. We'll also do some custom networking so everything gets synchronized properly, but let's just start over here. Right, the first thing we want to do for this is actually make a new class, and that's just going to be in our util package. Right-click new Java class, and this is going to be, I'm just going to call this the mod energy storage. Right, there you go. And this will extend the energy storage class from Minecraft Forge over here. We're just going to hover over this, create constructor matching super. We need this one right here, or I'm going to use this one. We're just going to get the capacity and the max transfer, calling the super. That's going to be totally fine. And then we want to overwrite the extract energy method as well as the receive energy method. And we also want to, we actually also want to make a set energy method. So that's a custom one, public int set energy. That's going to be, of course, int energy here as a parameter, and then just say this energy, this dot energy equals energy, and then we're just going to return the energy as well. There you go. And then we also want a public abstract void and call this the onEnergyChanged method. And then we want to make this class an abstract class. Now, the reason why we need this is because the energy storage itself, you can see when we receive energy and when we extract energy, right? You can look at this and you could be like, well, that's like all sorts of craziness. Yes, but the issue is that we have no method that gets called if there is like anything happening, basically, right? So I want this method to be called the onEnergyChanged method if there is something received and something extracted. This is why I'm basically making this custom abstract class over here. I'm just going to copy over the contents of this. Nothing too crazy over here. Overall, that should be pretty much fine, right? You can see we're just getting the extract energy here from the super. We're then saying, okay, if this is not null, then we call the onEnergyChanged method here, and then just returning the extracted energy, just like you would expect to. Right, and now that we have that, let's go back to the block entity. We can create the custom energy storage. This is going to be a private final, and this is going to be the mod energy storage. Just call it energy underscore storage. And this is going to be equal to a new, and you can see mod energy storage. That's exactly right. And this is with a semicolon. You can see we have to overwrite the onEnergyChanged method over here. And what we'll just do is we'll call the setChanged method. And then afterwards, we'll also have to, well, synchronize the energy via a custom packet. But we're going to look at that in a moment when we've, implemented the rest, basically. Now, I also, just so that I have it, I want a private static final int, and we're going to call it the energy requirements or energy rec. That's good. Energy rec, that's okay. So basically, this is going to be how much energy is going to be, well, per tick is going to be consumed for this to craft something, basically. Well, and I almost forgot over here. Let's just do 60,000 as a capacity, and the max transfer, let's do something like 256. That's going to be okay. And then we'll see if we can use this. This, of course, you can change any which way you want, right? You can change the capacity, the max transfer, and in the mod energy storage, you can also implement the other constructors over here if you so choose to do so, and then you can use those as well. So that would also work totally fine. Now the question is, where do we use this energy storage? Well, first of all, we have to use this in the get capability method over here, and we have to ask, hey, if this capability that it's asking for is forge capabilities dot energy, then what we want to do is we want to return this, but once again, we have to return this item head, or like a lazy handler over here. So we also need the lazy handler that is the same idea, right? So we have this for the item over here. We need the same thing for the energy. So this is going to be needed for all of them. This is just a lazy optional of type I energy storage. This is the lazy energy handler equal to a lazy optional dot empty, actually. There you go. And that will be that. And of course, in the init method that we have somewhere over here on the onload method, rather, we're just going to say lazy energy handler is equal to lazy optional dot of, and then a supplier of energy storage. There you go. And then also extremely important that we invalidate this as well. So just call the invalidate method in the invalidate caps. And then just so that we have it, we also, of course, want to save this via the NBT. This is, of course, extremely important as well, because, well, I mean, if we don't if we don't save this under NBT, then it's not going to be saved. So what we're going to do here is actually just nbt.putInt. This is just going to be gem underscore infusing underscore station dot energy, and this is just going to be energy storage actually dot get energy stored. And then in the load method, of course, energy storage dot set energy, and that's going to be nbt dot get int gem underscore infusing underscore station dot energy. And that will then save and load this as well. So pretty cool indeed. So then let's finish this. The energy in the get capability method, we're just going to return the lazy energy handler dot cast. And that is pretty much all that we need to do for the capability. Now energy can also be, well, basically pumped into this particular block. But we wouldn't have any, well, first of all, functionality, and secondly, we wouldn't have any display. Let's first of all start with the functionality, of course, in the tick method. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do something interesting. So we're going to check whether or not this slot right here has a normal gem in it, and then we're also going to, well, basically add energy to this block just for demonstration purposes, basically. So we're going to say if has gem in first slot, and we're just going to say block p entity, there you go, and we're just going to then say p entity dot energy storage dot receive energy. We're going to receive, let's say, 64, and simulate is false because we actually do want to do this. Let's hover over this, create this method. And here we're, of course, simply checking, hey, is the item handler dot get stack in slot 0, right? If this item is equal to mod items dot zircon dot get, then we can return this actually. There you go. So if a zircon is present in this particular slot over here, then we're going to also add energy to this particular energy storage. And now we're checking whether or not we have a recipe. And now we also want to check has enough energy, right? So if this block entity has enough energy, let's hover over this as well, create this method. And then what should happen? Well, what should happen is that the progress should increase, and we should also extract energy from this particular entity, right? So there you go. So those are the two methods that we're also going to need. And let's start with the has enough energy. That should be fairly trivial, all things considered. We basically just want to check, hey, is the energy storage, right? Get energy stored. Is that equal? Is that enough? Is that more or equal to energy required? And then we can do something interesting like times the max progress, for example, right? So that we basically make sure that it always has enough energy to finish the entire crafting process. So that could be an interesting idea. You can also just do energy required, or you could change this in all sorts of different ways, because of course when we don't have a recipe, we're resetting the progress. Maybe you don't want to reset the progress, maybe you want to hold the progress. That could also be a thing. However, in this case, this is really just an example. Hopefully you're going to understand it and you can then change it to whatever needs you have for your own block entity. How do we extract the energy? Well, it's actually fairly straightforward, right? Once again, p entity energy storage, extract energy. We're just going to extract the energy required here and then say false. This is why it's pretty good to have a constant over here that you just have, so that you don't have to type out 32 everywhere. And then if you want to change it, you have to change it everywhere. So it does make sense to somewhat to make a few constants like this. Right, and now you may or may not believe me, but this is actually all that we need for the energy functionality itself. And we're actually going to go into the game, take a look at it once, and then we're going to add all of the craziness with the menu and the screen so that it also displays. So right now we have no feedback that we're getting any energy, but it is being saved and it is being stored. So let's go into the game and actually see if it works. Alright, so we found ourselves in Minecraft, and first of all, as you can see, if I put a raw zircon in here, nothing happens at the moment because, of course, not enough energy is present. Now let's just put the zircon in there, and now in the background, the energy starts going, right? We're starting getting energy. Now we just have to wait a couple of, seconds over here, just so that we have enough energy in here that one particular raw zircon is going to be crafted, but let's just keep it in there for just a moment longer. Like I said, this in this case, right, this getting energy is just for demonstration purposes only. So now we should go in here and you can see it all works. Then there you go. So it still works. And if I put this out, then you can see we probably should have one more, maybe, okay, two more even, but then maybe we are going to run out of energy. We still have enough energy. Pretty nice indeed. So you can see that works all well. And we can also take a look at this. So let's just get an energy cube, for example, right? Let's just get an energy cube. And then also, not a pipe, it's a cable. And then for the sake of argument, right, as you can see, we're still crafting. That's all fine. Let's just get a new gem infusing station, right? So this one, of course, would not craft because there's no energy inside of it. But we can take the energy cube, put it next to it, and then now it should be getting, let's actually also do this so that it's all output, and then now it's being output, and you can see now it all works. You can actually see that the energy cable here is, outputting stuff into the gem infusing station, and there you go. So it all works already. Now without a display, this is extremely user unfriendly, and also it's just not, it's just not tenable. However, it's pretty awesome already. Energy already freaking working. All right, but of course the visual is the most important thing, right? So we want a visual over here, and for that we're going to get a few helper classes, as well as, well, most of this is going to be happening in the screen itself, because this is of course where, well, all of the client stuff, all of the GUI display is being changed and things like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to copy over a few classes. So in our screen package, we're going to make a new package called renderer. That's just what I called it. And here, what I want to copy over is the info area as well as the energy info area class. So those will, of course, be available to you in the description below. GitHub repository and individual gist as well as all of the other code as well. So the info area here, you can see it's actually from Blue Sunrise. This is from Immersive Engineering. It is just a very easy way of basically doing this. It's a very straightforward class. It's nothing too crazy over here. It's under the Blue license of common sense. Pretty much just says, hey, don't do anything stupid. Don't take like the entire project. If you take a class, give it a copyright notice, and then you're gonna be fine. And then the energy area itself is actually also pretty good. It basically has everything that we need for, well, I mean, everything. We have a draw method that is going to draw the gradient inside of this area right here. And it also has a list of components over here that are going to be displayed when we hover over a particular area. So this pretty much does the heavy lifting for us. It is pretty awesome indeed. So what we're going to need inside of the screen class now is one of those energy areas. So below the resource location here, we're just going to have a private energy info area, and we're going to call this the energy info area. We're going to initialize this right here, but we're going to do this in a new method, assign energy info area. Reason I want to do this is because we need to add some very, very particular things over here. So this is going to look like the following. This is going to be energy info area equals to a new energy info area. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to get the X and Y over here because we're going to need this again. So this is going to be X plus 156 and then Y plus 13. And then we're going to say menu.blockentity.get energy storage. And you can see that it's not a method that exists yet, but that's not an issue. We can just create that. So hover over this, create method inside of here. Let's just move this up though. I do like to have this roughly in the same area as the energy, maybe below the create menu. That's going to be fine. And we're just going to return the energy storage over here. And that should be pretty much what we need right here. Because the energy info area, as you can see, it takes an I energy storage over here. And that's exactly right. Now the 8 and the 64 here, I'm pretty sure that those are hard-coded for me because of this height. That should be pretty much what you have to change there if you want to change stuff. And then the 156 and the 13, of course, is this pixel right here, right? So we're starting over here. That should be fairly self-explanatory at this point. Nothing too crazy going on. Right, so this assigns the energy info area and the storage. So when we now add this in the render BG method over here, we can say energy info area dot draw, and then just passing in the post stack. Now the energy info area is going to be drawn. Nothing else has to basically happen. However, we do want something else to, well, basically that we want to add, and that is, of course, the hover over effect, or rather the, the tooltip that is displayed when we hover over this. And this happens in another method. So this is actually in the screen again, and that is going to be the render labels method over here. And what we want to do is we once again want the X and Y over here. That's very important. And then we want to make a new method over here. That's the render energy area tooltips, passing in the post stack. Now I already know what we have to pass in here, mouse X, mouse Y, because of course we need to know the position of the mouse and then also the X and Y coordinates. And we're just going to make a new method from this. And then I will copy over some stuff. So this is going to be very interesting because we're going to get one error here, and this also might look a little bit crazy. So is mouse above area does not exist yet because that is a helper method that I have to add myself, and we're going to add it at the bottom here, and then you can see the mouse util does not exist. Now, separating classes into, your util classes and stuff like that, very, very good practice in general inside of tutorials. Sometimes kind of annoying to basically show this because then you have to add more and more classes, but this makes sense. Mouse util class literally just basically checks, hey, this is the position of the mouse, the X and Y, and then is the mouse inside of this area. That's all that the mouse util class does. It's pretty much like you can just take it and you should be totally fine. So I've just taken this, right? You can see this is also all available to you in the description below. This should not be anything crazy. Yeah, so that is pretty much that. And then there you go. So if the mouse is exactly over this area right here, right, then what we're going to do is then we're going to render a tooltip of these tooltips at the position of the mouse, basically. That's literally all that we're doing, and that should be fairly self-explanatory. Now, all of this is done, and it would work if we would synchronize all of this craziness. But of course, we're not synchronizing anything yet because the energy storage at the moment exists only on the client. So we now need another networking packet over here, but nothing too crazy. Let's just copy over the thirst data sync over here, and this is going to be the energy sync S2C packet. Yes, please. There you go. And then this is going to look like the following. We will have an integer called energy. That is absolutely correct. So we can basically change this over here. All of this. And with the integer, same with this. And then we're going to have another thing, and that is a block pause called pause. There you go, import it as well. And then let's just do this as well. So this dot pause equals pause. And then for the buffer here, we can just say this dot pause equals buff dot read block pause. And then here we want to do buff dot write block pause, and then writing the position. Now, what do we want to do when we are on the client? Well, definitely a few different things. First of all, we want to make sure that the getInstance.level.getBlockEntity at the particular position is instance of the gem infusing station block entity. There you go, called block entity. Now we have access to that particular variable as well, and everything that we want to do happens inside of here. Now we can do this, of course, because we know that we are on the client 100%, right, in this handle method. So that's going to be okay. And then we want to say block entity dot set energy level. Now this does not exist. We're going to change this in a moment, or we're going to add this basically, and then setting the energy level right here. Now we also want to make sure that if we open the container menu, right, so we're basically going to say Minecraft.getInstanceLevel. It's actually not level, it's actually player. If the player has a container menu open, and that is instance of the gem infusing menu right here called menu. And what we also want to say is that menu's position, so menu.getBlockEntity, menu.getBlockEntity, we also have to add that. So let's just add those methods over here. So the set energy level method, let's just add this. Once again, I want to have this a little bit higher up over here. So the energy method, this set energy, has to happen, because if we don't have this, then the energy level on the client is going to be 0 all the time. So we want to set the energy to whatever energy we're passing in here. So this just synchronized. This method is always only called on the client, and it only adds the energy that the server has. So the server says, hey, we have 300 energy inside of this energy storage, and then this sets it on the client. That is the general idea for this method over here. And then, of course, when we look at the getBlockEntity method, well, that is nothing too insane over here, right? That literally just gets the gem infusing station block entity, and we're just going to return this block entity right inside of the menu over here. Let's just move this up a little bit. There you go. Right, so we just want to have access to this particular block entity over here, and that should pretty much be fine as well. So now we have access to it, and what we can then do is get the position of this, right? So get block pass, and if that is equal to this particular position, then we will also call block entity dot set energy level and passing in the energy. So basically every time it changes, as well as if we have this open basically just as a failsafe here, that should pretty much be fine and all that we need. Now let's register this as well, mod messages, and then let's go right here. Let's just duplicate this. This is the S to C, so this should be fine. So this is the energy packet S to C, and then just change it all around. There you go. And this is also correct, so that should be fine as well. And now we just want to call this, or we want to create this in the onEnergyChanged method. So as I've said right here, set changed, and then we also want to send the particular thing to the client. So this is mod messages dot send to clients. We actually don't have this. This is a method that is going to send it to all the clients, because in this case, we actually want to send this to all clients. This is another method that we need to make, but no worries. Public static MSG void, and this is going to be sent to clients, and of course MSG message. Now this is going to be instance.send packet distributor.all with no args, and then just sending the message. So this is going to send it to all clients that, basically, well, all clients, because every client basically wants to know, hey, what is this energy of this particular block entity? So we can say send it to clients, and then just making a new energy S to C packet, passing in this dot energy and this dot pause. Actually, it's just pause, I believe. Yeah, get block pause. There you go. And that will pretty much do it. This will now synchronize the energy as well, and everything should work here. So we should now be able to see the energy be represented in this particular part of the GUI as well. So I would say, let's go into the game and see if it works. All right, so we find ourselves in Minecraft again. Let's just set down a new one, and let's see. And if I hover over this, you can already see 0 out of 60,000. If I put a zircon in here, we should be able to see this, well, count up basically. So it counts up, and we can even see something being rendered there. Absolutely freaking awesome indeed. You can see it stopped. And if I were to take some raw zircon over here, then we should also see this decrease, so you can see it starts decreasing as well. Absolutely freaking amazing. And it will also work with the energy cubes over here. As long as we make this output, you can see now it's also, well, basically going up here. So everything working exactly how we'd expect it to, and exactly how we want it to. So I understand this can be quite complicated, but after we've done this once or twice, it's going to be very, very easy from that point onward. Yeah, and that's pretty much how easy it can be to add some custom energy storage to your block entity. Like all of the topics with the block entities, it can be quite complicated and quite convoluted, but it just is what it is. We're just going to have to deal with this. But whatever the case may be, hopefully you found this useful and you learned something new, and I'll see you all in the next tutorial. So, yeah.